What is up, my friends? Welcome to the complete set review for Modern Horizons 3. Of course, this is a special release. This is not a standard set. This is a set that is going to be legal in Modern and other older formats like Legacy, Commander, Vintage, and so on and so forth. However, it's also going to be on MTG Arena, where it'll be legal in Timeless and Historic as well. So make sure you check it out on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, support the content, hit the buttons, do the things. I'll be going over every single card in the entire set through the lens, of course, of Constructed for Historic, Timeless, Modern, and so on and so forth, as well as Limited. This is a fully draftable set. The Modern Horizon formats are always really fun, limited formats, and this one should be no different, I can only assume. And we can draft it on Arena, which is great too. And of course, this is a very important set for me because I have the Pro Tour coming up in a few weeks in Amsterdam, which will be Modern and Modern Horizons 3 draft. So, big set, big deal, very, very powerful set. Definitely different than standard sets as far as power level goes. You'll notice here that the cards are really, really powerful, which obviously means they can make an impact in these older formats, as well as making a really powerful draft format. So, that's the spiel on that. I want to remind you all, of course, about a few things before we start. We got Bronze to Mythic coming up. That's going to be when the set releases on Arena on Tuesday, June 11th. And then even before that, we got 10 new brews. And we're splitting it up. Of course, this is a unique set. Usually 10 new brews is standard only. Obviously, it's 10 new brews in standard. But because the set's not legal in standard and is applicable to a wide variety of formats, I'm going to be doing five brews on Arena tomorrow on June 5th, which is my birthday, actually. I turned 40 years old. Holy freaking crap. And I'm doing 3 historic brews and 2 timeless brews. And then on Friday, I'll be doing 5 modern brews. So 10 new brews total for the set, spread out, of course, over the 3 formats. And the 2 days should be a lot of fun. So we're going to go right to our set review here. We're going to give out all of our awards like we always do. Bombin Common, Best in Show, Sleeper Card, and Trap Card. And we're going to get right into that right now. For a quick word from our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com.
Cool Stuff Inc. is proud to sponsor Jim Davis. We offer great deals on card games, tabletop RPGs, board games, and more. Get a free token featuring Jim Davis and take 5% off your next order if you use the code JIM5 at checkout. CoolStuffInc.com. Cool stuff in stock.
All right, let's do this, folks. Set review time. Let's start it up here with Airy Auxiliary. And we're starting off pretty hot. We got a Bombin Common. First card of the entire set review. Here we go. Airy Auxiliary. And this is a good example of how good these cards are for limited, because they are really, really pushed compared to what you see in normal limited sets. Also important to note that typically every set has 2 or 3 main mechanics. We kind of go over those mechanics as we're going over the set reviews. The first card we see the mechanic, we go over it. Modern Horizons 3 is like an everything set. This is a smorgasbord of, there are so many mechanics from Magic's history in this set. So I'll go over them in passing, but I'm not going to give them a full, spiel or whatever, because there only are a few of each mechanic. So for example, this card is Support, which is a mechanic where you get to add counters to your creatures. That I think there might be one other support card in the entire set, maybe even not. So everything's in here. It's a crazy set. The mana for a 3/3 flyer in limited for a common is pretty solid, as obviously. When it ETBs, you support 2. That means you put a +1/+1 counter on each of the 2 other target creatures. So this is very similar to a card called Saddleback Legak, which was insanely good in its draft format back in the day. That was a 3/1 ground creature for 4, and that card was awesome. So Airy Auxiliary is a 3/3 flyer for 4, and it can pump 2 of your creatures. So if you curve out 2-drop, 3-drop this thing, that's insane. It also supports the themes of the set, where blue-white's all about flyers, and then green-white and some of the few of the white archetypes are all about putting counters on things and modify creatures. So this is the Bombin Common for white in this set. The card's an awesome, awesome limited card. Insanely good if you're curving out. Great flyer. Just a really, really powerful card overall. And let's move on to our next card. Ajani Fells the Godsire. Now, again, if you are familiar with Magic lore, you know what the Godsire is. You know what Ajani is. If you don't, just look it up. I can't explain everything for you. 5 mana Uncommon Saga. Chapter 1, exile target creature opponent controls power 3 or greater. Chapter 2, make a 2/1 Cat Warrior token, put a vigilance counter on creature you control. Tap 3, a creature gets double strike. So, obviously a limited focus card. A pretty good one at that, though, right? So, power 3 or more, that's pretty easy to hit. A lot of these, reprisal effects are often 4 or more, which is kind of, sketchy. But 3 or more is, almost like given in a game unlimited. So this is a 5 mana thing, exile an opponent's creature, make a 2/1, get a little value, and then double strike also. Very solid card, honestly. Very solid limited card. Should be a pretty high pick. Good removal spell. Not playable, constructed, obviously, but a pretty cool one and a cool story beat. However, we've got new Flipwalkers. Ajani, Nakatl? I always say that wrong. Nakatl?
You're saying it
Nakatl?
wrong.
Nakatl? Whatever. 2 mana for a 1/2 legendary cat warrior. When Ajani ETBs, you get a 2/1 cat warrior token. Whenever one or more other cats you control dies, you may exile this, bring it back, and flip it. So these are very similar to the Magic Origins Planeswalkers, where you get to see the Planeswalker pre-spark and then post-spark. So this is Ajani before his spark ignited, kind of like before his X-Men mutant power manifested. And then something happens, it makes a spark go on, and what happens? Boom. Ajani Nakatl Avenger. This is a 3 loyalty Planeswalker. +2, put a +1/+1 counter on each cat you control. For 0, you make a 2/1 cat token, and if you have a red permanent in play, you can deal damage to the number of creatures you control on any target. And you can -4, each opponent chooses an artifact, creature, enchantment, and planeswalker among the non-land permanents they control, and sacrifice the rest. So, obviously, a pretty powerful card, right? So, on pure rate here, we're getting a 1/2 and a 2/1 for 2 mana, which is pretty good, honestly. And they're not that hard to flip. You know, if a 2/1 dies or any other cat dies, boom, you're flipped. You get a Planeswalker. This thing can make a 2/1 token every turn, which is pretty cool. It can pump a squad if you're playing cats, which is kind of like the limiting factor for this card, honestly. And it can, if you're playing red, it can deal damage also. So, pretty powerful card. All these Flipwalkers are pretty hard to assess because, like, the front value of the card needs to be good. How easy is it to flip? How worth it is it to flip? Do you need to support it? And so on and so forth, too. Obviously, Wild Nakatl was legal, and there are other cats legal as well. The question with this card is, like, do you need to be super cat focused? Can you just, like, play this card by itself as its only cat? I'm not sure, honestly. This is a really weird one. The card seems pretty powerful, but at the same time, Modern's also a pretty powerful format. You know, if this card was in Standard, it'd be absolutely busted. It'd be insane. But it's not, we're not talking about Standard, though. We're talking about Modern, Legacy, Commander, and so on and so forth. So, I don't know. You know, does this card want to play a bunch of cats? I don't know. I'm not sure. It's definitely a powerful card. Will it find a home is the big question. It's obviously a phenomenal limited card because Planeswalkers are great and limited, and the rate on the card's super awesome as well. But this is a big question mark, and I honestly don't know the answer for you. Next up is Angel of the Ruins. This is a reprint, so of course there is a kind of a semi-bonus sheet in this set. It is the new to Modern cards. So they are reprints of cards that aren't currently legal in Modern. And this is a really, really awesome avenue to kind of get these weird Commander cards or older Legacy cards that aren't legal in Modern into the format. And the first one we see here is Angel of Ruins. This is a Commander card. 7 mana for a 5/7 flyer. When it ETBs, exile up to 2 artifacts or enchantments, and has plane cycling too. So obviously a good limited card. You know, land cyclers are pretty good, pretty big body. Not really a viable card for constructed. I guess maybe you're playing like a weird living end deck and you did some way to, like, I don't even know, maybe, but whatever. You know, more of a limited card, kind of is what it is, but kind of giving you a taste, if you can see, of the new to Modern cards. We see the set symbol in the text box, shows you what set it was originally from. Up next is Argent Deus. Dr. Zayas. 2 mana for an artifact. ETBs with 2 oil counters on it. Whenever 2 or more creatures attack, put an oil counter on this. Pay 2 and tap to remove 2 oil counters from this and exile another creature. Sorry, exile another non-land permanent. Its controller draws 2 cards. A lot of things happening here, right? So we got oil counters. We have creatures attacking. No, it's also your opponent's creatures attacking as well. And then you can remove counters on it and exile things. You can exile your opponent's stuff and give them cards. Similar to the card... Oh, what's that card called? Obulation, I think, from Onslaught. I'm old, Gandalf. I don't feel it. But, alright. Whatever. Alright. Alright, enough Lord Wing stuff. So, move 2 counters. You can target your own things. Obulation, whatever it is. So you can eat your own stuff and draw cards. That all being said, this isn't really a powerful card, right? Like, it can do stuff and you can draw cards, sack your own things, but as far as, like, Modern power level goes, this card seems kind of eh. In Limited, it's an interesting card because players are attacking all the time. So, like, getting counters is pretty easy. You can sack your own things and draw cards. It can kill a thing if you need to, you know, but yeah, kind of a weird card. It's a weird little rare. I don't know. Not super great in the format. Charitable Levy, 2 mana for an enchantment. This has the Thalia effect of non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Then it says whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, put a collection counter on this. If there are 3 or more counters on it, sacrifice it. If you do, draw a card, search for a planes, and put it on the battlefield tap. This card's actually, like, sneaky good. So This has, and the Thalia effect for 2 mana is reasonable. A little harder to kill than Thalia too. And your opponents are going to cast, opponents or you are going to cast non-creature spells, right? And when this thing goes off, you draw a card, you get a plains, not a basic plains, any plains, so a Triumph or whatever else. And that's a little 2-for-1 of value and some ramping too. That being said, what deck wants this card? I don't really know, honestly, So, kind of a weird card. It's kind of weird because you can trigger it yourself. That's kind of cool. But you're being Thalia attacked, so it's harder to trigger. So you want to play it if you're not playing a creature. I don't know, honestly. Powerful card, but very weird card. Wouldn't be surprised if this card's kind of sweet. But yeah, it's kind of an awkward one. I'm not really sure. In limited, this card seems maybe a sideboard card, honestly, if your opponent's playing out of spells. But I don't know. It's kind of a weird card. Pretty cool card. But definitely a good commander card, obviously. But Decree of Justice is next, and oh man, pour one out for our boy here, right? So this is one of the new to modern cards. Decree of Justice used to be an absolute house. Decree of Justice was the shit back in the day. Used to be a rare from Scourge. White 2 XX. That cost is less important than cycling cost, but make X angels, right? So for 6 mana, you get 1 angel. For 8 mana, you get 2 angels. Sure. However, the most important card of this part is cycling 3. Whenever you cycle it, you can pay X, and you get X 1/1s. This was the control card back in the day in Legacy and in Standard and in Extended. The uncounterable way to make tokens. Cycling, draws a card, just an awesome card. All the boomers know how good this card was. And I guess the Zoomers look at this card and they go, whatever, I guess. So this card being an uncommon is like, it hurts a little on the inside. It's sort of like when they drag the old band out of retirement, and they throw them on stage for a reunion show and they're all 60 years old, just like barely playing their instruments. And like, yeah, sure, that's that band you used to like, but they're all freaking ancient at this point. Let them rest, Just let them rest, So yeah, this all playing Legacy, in land decks and stuff. But yeah, so Decree of Justice will be a powerful limited card. It is still a pretty good card, I think. But just weird to see an old hero like this relegated to basically nothing. Distinguished Conjurer is next. 2 mana for a 1/2. Whenever a creature ETBs under your control, gain 1. Spend 5 mana, tap, and blink a creature you control. Good limited card. As far as constructed goes, 2 mana Soul Ward, not particularly exciting, and the ability isn't very exciting either. But this is kind of a cool limited card. This is actually a new to modern card. This is from Jumpstart. I didn't even know this card existed, honestly. So cool. Cool little draft card here. If you're playing good Blinky stuff, could do a thing. Blink's not really a big theme in the set, but there obviously always are good ETB abilities. So Dog Umbra is next. Where's Karn? I don't know. Where's Karn? 2 mana for a flash enchant creature. As long as another player controls enchanted creature, it can't attack or block. Otherwise, Dog Umbra has Umbra Armor. So that means that if a creature would die, instead you just remove the aura. So this is a protection spell or a pacifism, which is like good common. It's got flash, pacifism. It's a good limited common. Nothing really more. And Envoy of the Ancestors. 2 mana for a 2/3. It's got Outlast, another old mechanic, where you can pay a white, tap it, and put a counter on it at sorcery speed. Modified creatures you control have lifelink. So honestly, it's funny. I actually did a video for the main Magic the Gathering YouTube channel, which you can go check out, where I go over all 10 archetypes in this set for limited. Definitely go check that out on the main channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, say I'm great. And the big themes in the set, the big overarching theme for the Abzan colors, that is green, white, and black, green, is modified stuff. Adding counters to things, modified. And modified, of course, means anything that has a counter or an aura or an equipment on it. All right, so this thing is going to pump all those up with lifelink, as well as pumping itself up. Obviously, just by itself, you can just play this thing, tap it next turn. You have a 3/4 lifelinker, which is pretty cool as well. But yeah, this is a huge payoff for doing that in all those color combinations. It's going to be a great limited card. Constructed, obviously not, but super solid limited card for those archetypes. Essence Reliquary. 3 mana for an artifact. Tap it. Return a target permanent you control and all auras you control attached to it to its owner's hand only during your turn. It's kind of a weird crystal shard effect. I think this is a little clunky here, honestly. The fact that you can do it with no mana cost is nice, but only during your turn kind of sucks. You can't block with it and then bounce it or whatever. So you can protect your own things or reset your own ETBs, but overall, I don't know. it can do pretty cool stuff. You can bounce your own Urza Saga, or you could like, reset your sagas or planeswalkers or whatever else it might be. But I think overall this card's probably just too cute. A little too clunky for constructed, and then for limited, you have to have a really specific deck to make this card work. But it can work and it can do things, but Expel the Unworthy. 2-mana instant, 2-mana sorcery. Little Swords to Plowshares variant here. You get to exile a creature, mana value 3 or less, and they gain life equals its mana value. And then you can kick it, and you can exile anything. So, good limited removal spell. Being a sorcerer is a pretty big downside, honestly. Because, sorcery speed removal is much worse than instant speed removal. Not playable, modern, or anything like that. But this is obviously a fine limited removal spell. Pretty good card. Flare of Fortitude. Alright, folks. So, we have our new cycle of pitch spells. Everyone loves pitch spells, right? Everyone loves pitch spells. And the new cycle of pitch spells, of course, we had the Forces in Modern Horizons 1, and we had the Elementals in Modern Horizons 2. In Modern Horizons 3, we have the Flares. So the Flares are spells where the pitch condition is to sacrifice a non-token creature of that color. So, 4 mana to cast Hardcast, instant. You may sacrifice a non-token white creature to play the spell for free. Until end of turn, your life total can't change, and permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible. So, the big thing here, of course, is that this can save you from a Wrath, right? So I'm playing a white deck, and, they cast a Supreme Verdict. Boom, I cast this thing. I lose 1 creature instead of 4, untap, and then kill them. Cool. This card feels like mostly a sideboard card in that respect. In theory, you could also, play against a combo deck, and they're trying to, Grape Shot you down to 0 or whatever in their combo turn, and just, play this thing so they can't kill you while they're comboing off. That could be a thing as well. So, definitely has applications. A little more limited in scope than a card like Solitude or whatever, but pretty cool design, pretty interesting card, and definitely a real cost though. Just having a creature in play that's not a token of the color is not necessarily easy, and sacrificing it is not exactly free. So for example, if you have like a 2-mana 2/1 in play or whatever, some good 2-drop in play, sacrifice that thing to pay for this is not free. It's not a low cost at all, as you've already spent mana on the creature, it's your board, and so on and so forth. So that being said, I think this is a playable sideboard card. Less proactive than the other ones for sure, but very reasonable. In limited, I probably wouldn't play this card. Because again, sacrificing a creature is a huge cost unless you have like a Doom Travel or something like that. So next up is Glyph Elemental. This card's really good. It's better for a 2/2. It's got a lot of words on it. And again, this is sort of like what happens in a set where a lot of really unique designs come from mixing old mechanics that have never played together before. And it's really, really cool, but it's a lot to take in. So, it's better for a 2/2. This is an enchantment creature. It has Bestow, which is a Theros mechanic, meaning that you can spend the Bestow cost, and it becomes an aura that goes onto a creature. However, if it would fall off the creature, it becomes the creature it is. So, very powerful mechanic, all right? Bestow is really, really powerful, and this is costed insanely cheap. Most Bestow cards are very expensive because, you're augmenting this creature, and then if it dies, getting another creature too. So, this card's, pretty messed up for bestowing. It also has Landfall. Whenever a land ETBs under your control, put a counter on this, and then that also counts for the Bestow, right? So, if you bestow this under a creature and Landfall, that creature will get bigger also. But when it falls off, this is bigger too. So, this feels like a Mythic Uncommon being limited. Just absolutely busted. Almost like Bristly Bill level of power. Just really, really powerful card. And there really isn't a way around it, where most auras, if I'm playing the aura on the creature, if I kill creature response, so crap, I get screwed. This thing just falls into play. So Bestow is a very powerful ability. Again, usually costed as such, but for 2 mana here, this is pretty insane. So, card's insane. Is it playable, modern, or constructed? I don't think so. Kind of weird to see Landfall +1/+1 on a white card too. Feels more green-white than white. But this card's insane. Busted limited card. Maybe for some sort of interesting, I don't know, enchantment deck. And I don't know. It's probably not for modern. But also important to note that there are fetch lands in this set, both at rare and at common. There are 10 common fetch lands, which is insane as well. So this might be one of the best uncommons in a set, honestly. Busted card. Really, really powerful. Up next is Guardian of the Forgotten. We got 4 mana for a 4/4 Vigilance. So good solid body, right? Whenever a modified creature you control dies, you manifest the top card of your library. That means you put it face down, and you can unmorph it for its mana cost. This card's very, very good. The black-white modified sub-theme is all about modified creatures dying for value. This card obviously plays into that very, very well. And, of course, this card is just well-sized by itself, too. This card's very, very good. Plays well in that black-white archetype, while also being a good card in general. And just good in green-white, right? If my creature dies, I get to manifest. That's insane. So, card's really, really good. Excellent, uncommon for limited. And that's it. Guide of Souls.
You folding?
No.
Or are you all in?
No awards, but a powerful card. 1 mana for a 1/2. It's funny how they have to make everything a 1/2 these days because of how Bowmasters and Ren affect the format, which is definitely very annoying. But 1 mana 1/2, Human Cleric. Whenever a creature ETB is under your control, you gain 1 life and get an energy. So, of course, energy returns in this set. One of the major mechanics across the Jeskai colors. So, Abzan's kind of all about counters and modified, and Jeskai is all about energy in various ways. And energy, of course, is a mechanic where you get a counter and just a resource you can spend. And whenever you attack, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, put 2++1 counters and a flying counter on a creature, and it becomes an angel. So this is a Soul Warden with a bunch of upside. It's also a really easy energy generator. So Soul Warden effects have been playable in like Soul Sister type decks where you're like playing Ajani's Pride Mate kind of cards and utilizing a life gain. This one can facilitate that or facilitate energy stuff as well. There are a lot of energy cards in the set. It's pretty powerful. And this can pay you off by itself for making angels, but also pay off your other cards too. Note that there is an energy Allurin kind of card in green, which this card could be an engine for. This is going to be a very powerful card on Arena in less powerful formats like Historic for the angel decks and the life gain decks and stuff. Card's really good, honestly. Good limited card too because it's just like a solid way to pump your stuff up. Card's very, very good. I came very close to giving this card an award. I ended up not doing it, but this card is really, really powerful. Great draft card, great limited card, great constructed card for various things. Just a good one. Guide of Souls. Hex Gold Slith. Sliths are back. Remember Sliths? I do, because I was there, Gandalf.
What about 11sies? Luncheon, afternoon tea, dinner, supper.
2 mana for a 2/1 Slith. So a Slith creature is a creature that whenever it deals damage to a player, you put a counter on it. All right, there used to be a cycle of them in Mirrodin. They all cost color of all the colors. Slith Firewalker being the standout. And in this thing, ETBs, you get 2 energy. Whenever attacks, they give it first strike, and if you do, it gets counter. This is a really, really good common. Excellent 2-drop. Not hard to get that first shot in, make it a 3/2. And then it also gives you energy. It's important to note that one of the things about energy is that anything that gives you energy when it comes into play is a really, really hidden value. Where you play this thing, they just kill it, and you still have the 2 energy just sitting there, right? So that's pretty powerful. And the more cards you have like this, the more you can stack that energy up and use it, which is great. This is a great 2-drop. Phenomenal 2-drop. Really, really good in rest of decks. Really, really good energy decks. And not playable in Modern, but still really good. Indebted Spirit. Speaking of cards that have a really awesome mix of abilities you wouldn't expect to see together, Indebted Spirit has Bestow and Afterlife. So again, Bestow is the thing where you can make the creature into an aura. And then Afterlife is whenever this thing dies, you get a 1/1 flying spirit token. So you put this on a creature, and the creature gets +1/+1, and it's Afterlife 1. Then if that creature dies, you get a token for the creature dying, and you get a token when this spirit dies eventually also. So a bunch of tokens here, and just a really powerful card. And this card is just a really good draft card, honestly. Nothing else to say. Great limited card. And it's also just a Doom Traveler as by itself as well. Also being an enchantment, which is kind of cool. So card's great. Great limited card. Plays perfectly in the black-white theme of like modified things dying, which sounds like a weird theme, right? But this is the kind of card that fits in that very, very well. So that's Indebted Spirit. Inspired Inventors next. They went for a 2/2. ETB get 3 energy, or put a counter on a creature, or make a token. So we have a 2/2 with a 1/1, or a 3/3, or 3 energy. I think this card's going to play a little worse than it looks. This looks like a pretty good limited card in a regular limited set. This is not a regular limited set. All these commons are absolutely juiced. So I think this card is fine. Kind of like filler level, going to be okay, but kind of a casualty of the fact these cards are all just so good. Jolted Awake. 1 white for its sorcery. Just up to 1 artifact or creature card in the graveyard. You get 2 energy. Then you may pay an amount of energy equal to that card's mana value. If you do, bring it back from the graveyard. So kind of like an unearth effect in white, obviously without any other way to make energy. This will only be a little worse than unearth. That being said, if you have other ways to get energy, this can return bigger things. So Unearth is obviously locked into 3 drops. If you have energy from other sources, this can get back a 5 drop or a 6 drop, which is pretty cool, honestly. So could be, in theory, a reanimate for one white, which is pretty powerful. Also a cycling too. So kind of a cool card. It also returns artifacts as well, so you can return the One Ring or something like that. So I guess it's like a sneaky common, kind of a sleepery common for constructed. I guess card could see some play if there is some sort of cool energy deck, and there is some really cool energy cards in white. So card's kind of sweet. I think it's a sleeper. In limited, I don't think it's that good. But I think in constructed, this card could just do some really cool stuff if you're playing a lot of energy. Might also be a big pauper card too. Actually, card's pretty sweet. Jolted Awake. Mandibular Kite. Am I saying that right? Mandibular Kite. 1 white for an artifact equipment with living weapon. That means that it comes into play with a 0/0 already on it. Plus it was 1 in flying, equipped for 4. So this is a 1/1 flyer for 1. It's also an artifact creature. And then it can also equip. Note that this is a modified creature for your modified stuff. So you play this thing and you sacrifice it for value in your black-white deck. It's a modified creature dying, which is kind of cool. And then a little value on the equip also. So kind of a low power level card, but a cool little synergy cog. The Rakdos theme is all about artifacts and affinity. This is a little crossover there, but there isn't much crossover with that archetype in general. So probably a common that's going to fall a little short, but... Metastatic Evangel is next. 2 mana for a 3/1. 2 mana for a 3/1, sorry. Phyrexian Human Cleric. Whenever another non-token ETBs proliferate, that's a really powerful effect. Alright? Proliferating over and over again is really, really powerful. Especially in a set that cares about counters and modified stuff. This is going to be another absolute house of an uncommon. Where there's just a bunch of creatures with counters on them and stuff. And then you get to just kind of like play this card on turn 4, play another creature, proliferate everything, and if they don't kill it, keep proliferating. That's wild. So, card is definitely a really, really serious contender in limited for an excellent uncommon. It can up your energy by proliferating, up your +1/+1 counters by proliferating, and a whole bunch more. As far as constructed, I don't think so. Proliferate is a really, really powerful ability, but I don't think this card is quite good enough in that respect. But it is a powerful card for sure. Great limited card. Might be a cool card for like a Historic on Arena, which is like a less powerful format. It might have more things to do as well. So kind of cool, but... Muster of the Departed. 3 mana for an enchantment. Whenever ETBs make a spirit token, and that is morbid at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, populate. What the hell's populate mean? Populate means you create a token that's a copy of a creature of a token that you control. So, obviously, if you still have your flyer token, you can copy that. But if you have things that make other tokens, you can copy those instead. That being said, there isn't really like a strict token theme in the set. None of the colors are really about that. There are like Scion tokens, Eldrazi tokens in the Eldrazi colors. Some cat tokens here and there and so on and so forth. But not like super heavy or anything. So this card seems kind of like a real build around in limited. Where if you're really building around it, maybe, but just doesn't seem good enough, honestly. You're not really getting enough for what your value here on the front side, and the back side's hard to use too, so kind of miss for me. If it triggered on every player's end step, then we might be talking, but only yours, man. Nyxborn Unicorn. This is more of a bestow cost that you're used to. So mana for a 2/2. It's got Mentor. Whenever attacks grow a smaller creature. Has Bestow 4. So you can spend 4 mana, put this onto a creature as an aura, which will get +2/+2 and Mentor. And of course, if that creature dies, you get your 2/2 here. This is more of the costing you're used to seeing on the bestow ability, but still very good. This is still an excellent common. Again, this will modify things, makes cool value as well. Just a good solid common, honestly. There isn't really much benefit being an enchantment in the set, but pretty sweet. Ocelot Pride, maybe Ocelot Pride.
You're saying it wrong.
I don't know.
Osar.
1 white Mythic cat, first strike lifelink, has Ascend. Ascend means if you control 10 or more permanents and you control an Ascend card, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. It just turns on, and all of your Ascend cards turn on. But your end step, if you're gained life this turn, make a cat token. Then if you have a City's Blessing, for each token that you control that ETB this turn, Megatron gets a copy of it. So, reasonably powerful card if you're gaining life, right? Because you can keep making 1/1s over and over again, and then possibly make a lot more than that with Ascend. That being said, this is a 1/1 for 1 that dies to Orcish Bowmasters, so I think this card in Constructed is probably a bit of a stinker. Kind of a cool card. Definitely a good limited card. I think that making Ascend is not that difficult. I don't know. It's a lot of work in limited too. So I don't know. Kind of card that, like, if the right cards are printed, this could be a thing. But overall, kind of weird. It is important to note that any cat must be looked at through the lens of Ajani, Nakano Pariah as a possible synergy card with there. But overall, I think this card's kind of not very exciting. Orm's Chant. Man,
It's a trap!
I don't think this is going to fool many folks, but another card that used to be an absolute house back in the day. Orm's Chant used to combine with Isochron Scepter to form a deck called Scepter Chant. And of course, Isochron Scepter is legal in Modern. It hasn't seen play for 1,000 years. It's a 2-mana artifact, or when you play it, you can imprint an instant that costs 2 or less onto it, and then you can tap the artifact and spend 2 and just cast that card over and over again. Back in Extended Midday, used to play Fire Ice, which actually no longer works with Scepter. Counterspell, Orm's Chant, Lightning Helix, Lightning Bolt, Sword Plowshares, whatever, put those on a Scepter. And the big one was putting the Orm's Chant on a Scepter, and every upkeep you would cast it and then kick it, so your opponent couldn't cast spells or attack you. So if they didn't have an instant speed way to deal with your artifact, they were locked out of the game. That still works. Is it good enough for Modern? I don't think so, unfortunately. I think we're a little past that point, and it wasn't really like a combo deck in the purest sense, because you were more than happy to put a Counterspell or a Lightning Bolt under this Scepter. But I don't know, and Scepter is not currently on Arena, so, the real draw to a lot of these cards is, if it's not good enough for Modern, it might be good enough for Historic, which is a less powerful one Arena, but not really there. Yeah. Obviously, it's a fine sideboard card, in that, like, it's better than Silence, which is a card that does see occasional play. But yeah, kind of a bummer. No longer the hero that it was, and don't play this card in Limited. Pearl Ear, Imperial Advisor. Demand for a 3/4 lifelink. Jeez. What a body, right? Enchantment spells you cast have affinity for auras. If you cast an aura spell that targets a modified permanent you control, draw a card. Very weird card. So, giving your auras affinity is not particularly exciting in an aura deck, because they almost always all cost 1, right? Imperial Armor, Rancor, whatever else it might be. So you're not really getting much of a discount there, right? It does make your other enchantments cheaper too, but I don't know, kind of weird. It does discount Bestow, but that doesn't seem relevant for Constructed. And then, if you cast an aura spell on a card that's already modified, you draw a card. That's pretty good. If you're trying to do the whole, like, play an aura, draw a card kind of boggles thing, Core Spirit Dancer, Saram both do it a lot better. So, I don't think this card, despite being really pushed on rate, really has a home anywhere in Constructed. Again, maybe in Historic. It's an absolutely bonkers limited card. Just totally busted in these modified decks. Like, I think for lifelink Body for 3 is just good and limited anyway. This card's a house in limited. But I think Constructed, it's not really going to get going anywhere, but great limited card. Philia, Exuberant Shepherd. I wanted to call this the sleeper card, but I think it's like already kind of out there, I think. This card's really, really good. 2 mana for a legendary creature dog. It's got flash. It's 2/2. Whenever it attacks, exile up to 1 other target non-land permanent. Beginning of the next end step, return that card to battlefield under owner's control. If you control the card, +1/+1. Alright, so you blink your own stuff for value, and the doggy grows. However, you can target your opponent's stuff too. So you can target a Ursa Saga token. You can target a Bowmash token. You can target a whatever else they might have. Maybe they have a good blocker in play. Reset the ring. There's a lot of things you do with this card that are very tricky, that I couldn't possibly name all of them right now. But very, very powerful and very, very tricky. And then blinking your own stuff's great too, right? I have a Solitude in play, and I'll blink that. Cool. So that's pretty sweet as well. You can blink your own Bowmaster, yada, yada, yada. If you want to go deep with cards like Containment Breach, sure, I guess you can do that too. But yeah, this card's really, really powerful. There's a lot of work for a very, very low cost. Some of the best cards in the format are ETB effects like Grief and Solitude, and because it has to attack, but it's flash. End step, flash it in, untap, attack with it. That's pretty sick. So, card's pretty awesome. This card's pretty sweet. I'm not sure exactly where it goes. The power level's pretty high. There were definitely a number of possible choices for best in show for white. I wanted it to be the sleeper card, but I couldn't find another card that I thought was like really, really good in white, so I decided to give us the best in show award. But yeah, and then obviously great in limited, right? Just a super solid limited card. Blink your own stuff. Grow this thing, gain value. Card's great too. So there you go. Good doggo for best in show. Philia. Proud Pack Rhino. Demanded for a 3/3 ETB. Put a shield counter on a permanent or proliferate. Shield counter means if you be destroyed, remove a counter, and proliferate adds counters. Just a good limited card. Again, proliferate is very, very powerful. All the modified stuff going on. Shield counters are kind of cool too. If you have other ways to proliferate shield counters, that's pretty cool as well. But yeah, just solid limited card, nothing crazy. Just a good archetype limited card. Razorgrash Ambush. MDFCs return. We got the double face cards that are lands in the back and that are spells on the front. So of course the spell on the front is going to be a little underwhelming, but the fact it's a land is very, very powerful. So add it for an instant. Deal 3 to an attacker or blocker. So not a very powerful spell, right? This is a card we see in limited. It's often like, not that playable. But it's also a freaking Razorgrass Field, which is a white land. It comes in play tapped. Or you can pay 3 life, Mythic land style, and it comes in untapped, which is pretty powerful. So this card obviously is powerful for a number of reasons. In limited, having a land / spell split card is just really, really good. And then in constructed, these cards have value being not actually lands. So for example, if you're looking for white cards, Pitch of Solitude. If you're looking to play Belcher, whatever else it might be, this can help you do that. There are other white MDFCs. Obviously, this one's kind of pretty good. But yeah, kind of in the Aganjo space a little bit for sure. But probably mostly a limited card on this one, but some of the other ones will be quite good. So Razorgrass Field, pretty big deal in limited. Recruiter of a Guard, another new to modern card. This is a Imperial Recruiter in white. Demanded for a 1/1 ETB. Search library for a creature card, toughest 2 or less, and put it into your hand. Obviously, mostly a combo card, kind of a good combo card, good Aether Vial card. With either a combo deck or a toolbox deck, this card's very reasonable. It is not particularly powerful, but it is pretty sweet. Plays well Aether Vial, obviously. Could turn humans into like a toolbox deck, maybe, if you want to be a little sneaky in that regard. That being said, Aether Vial, not exactly a huge factor in the format right now. But pretty cool card. Pretty cool with the doggy as well. You can get it and then blink it, which is kind of sweet. But yeah, cool card. Happy it's here. Cool thing to have in your deck builder's toolbox, but not super useful. In limited, not the most exciting, honestly, because like your bomb's not going to have two toughness or less usually, but obviously playable. But yeah, just a cool card to have access to. It's a cool card to have in modern. Rosecott Knight. 5 mana for a 3/4 Vigilance. Whenever it ETBs, look at your top 6 cards. Reveal an artifact or an enchantment and put it in your hand. If you don't put a card in your hand, put a counter on it. So you have a 4/5 Vigilance or a 3/4 Vigilance that draws a card for 5. This card would be really, really good in a regular standard set. But in a power level as high as this set, it just seems like limited filler. Like, you know, it's your 5-drop. If you need a 5-drop, you can play it. Wouldn't be excited about it. Wouldn't take it highly. Savine's Reclamation, another new to modern card. This card sees play in Legacy occasionally. The mana for a sorcery. Return a permanent card, mana value 3 less from your graveyard to your hand. To the battlefield, I'm sorry. If you flash it back, you get 2 things. So in Legacy, this card sees play to return to Fairy Time Raveler, Narset, among other things. It can return lands also. And then obviously value later in the game. Kind of like a one-of in like Miracles kind of boards sometimes, you know, things like that. I expect the same in Modern, where Narset and Teferi are both obviously legal. That being said, not a card you're going to play a ton of, honestly. Just a good card. And limited, this card's great because you get just card advantage. You just return a thing and then return 2 things later. So the card advantage is very, very good and easier to apply in limited. But yeah, cool card to have in the toolbox. Cool new to modern card. Solstice Zealot. Demand for a 2/3. ETB, get 2 energy. Pay an energy tap a creature. This card's fine. Not a great tapper, honestly. Demand for a 2/3 is kind of eh. It's only 2 energy. Again, if they kill it, you get the energy, which is kind of cool. Card's fine, but I think a little unexciting overall size-wise. Okay, limited card. Static Prison. 1 mana for an enchantment. ETB. Exile any non-land permanent an opponent controls until this leaves the battlefield. But you also get 2 energy. But you must sacrifice this so you don't pay an energy every turn. So there's an upkeep cost of 1 energy. So really, really powerful 1 mana removal spell, but temporary. So if you're playing an energy deck, this could be a cool card, but that kind of makes me nervous, honestly. You're having this removal spell in play that might, you know, come back at some point. I don't know. You can't proliferate these counters. You can get energy in other sources, obviously. But if you're playing an energy deck, this thing constantly depleting your energy seems kind of eh. when you can have things like Solitude or Prismatic Ending or as many other good white removal spells as well. So I don't know. I'm not too big on this card. Obviously a fine limited card if you're aggressive, but I think constructive this card's a little too eh. Thraben Charm, 2 for an instant. Choose one. Deal damage equal to twice the number of creatures you control to a target creature. Destroy enchantment or exile graveyards. Charms are sweet. I think for constructive they have to cost 1, so probably not a card we'll see in modern. Maybe in historic, but you know, if you're looking for a way to kind of exile graveyards, it would also be a fine card. Good limited card, you know, very reserve removal spell, and obviously a fine way to kill enchantments and have some other value there. But good limited card, good removal spell. Gotta play a lot of creatures to do this card, make this card good, but is what it is. Voltstorm Angel, 5 mana for a 4/4 flying. ETB, get 3 energy. Being in combat your turn, you can spend 2 of it, and you can get Vigilance and Lifelink on this creature, or pump the team. Obviously great uncommon. You know, whether you're a Boros aggro energy deck or a blue-white flyer energy deck, this card's excellent. Honestly, just fine enough by itself, too, I think, if you're not even like energy, if you're like green-white. But yeah, great limited card, nothing else. White Orchid Phantom. White for a 2/2 flying first strike. Whenever ETBs, you Field of Ruin one of their lands. So you sack it. I'm sorry, Ghost Quarter one of their lands. You sack, they have to destroy it, and then they get to search library for a basic and put battlefield tapped. This card's really cool. It's a kind of card where it does a lot of cool things, but costing white is like kind of damning, honestly. Where obviously a great card against like Tron or Valakut decks, things like that. And the body is fine, not great, but fine. Plays better with Aether Vial and stuff like that too. You can also hit your own lands as well. So if you have Flagstones of Trocare or an indestructible artifact land, this can be a ramp spell, which is kind of cool too. So definitely a lot of cool things happening here. That being said, it is a white 2/2. So like, what deck wants this card? I don't really know. It's not a human either. So like, it's a spirit. Is that relevant? I'm not sure. I like this card a lot. I think this card's really, really cool. It's a fun card to blink as well. I think this card's kind of sweet. I think it'll be overplayed a little bit, but it's a really cool card. It's also a cool tutor target for like a recruiter or something like that if you're playing a creature deck. But again, Aether Vial stock is pretty low at the moment, so that hurts this card a little bit. But again, really, really cool to target your own stuff, and card's kind of sweet. Maybe in the Boom Bust deck, right? Where this can target your own Flagstones or target their lands for land destruction. I don't know. We'll see. Pretty cool card. Wing it! Just gonna wing it. It's an instant, +2/+2, flying counter, scry 1. This is your standard limited pump spell. It's fine. Wouldn't want a lot of these. Card's okay, though. Witch Enchanter? Get it? Disenchant. You get it? 4 mana for a 2/2, ETB. Destroy artifact or enchantment. It's also a human, very important, so you can tutor with human stuff. Backside the land, and then of course the same thing where pay 3 life comes in untapped. This card's pretty good. You know, it's a creature. You can kind of have in your deck to kill artifacts or enchantments. It's also a land, so some value there. You know, again, this is just a land a lot of the time. Cool, super low opportunity cost, and then occasionally kill a enchantment or whatever else it might be. So kind of a cool card. Limited of this card's fine. Also, this can be tutored up by recruiters, stuff like that too. You can Aether Vial it in, which is kind of cool as well. This also allows your things that find creatures to get lands, which is kind of cool too. So it's kind of cool. Definitely a cool little card. Cool to have in the toolbox. Wrath of the Skies. If there's going to be an energy deck in Modern, folks, this card's going to be at the center of it. White X. You get X energy. Then, you may pay any amount of energy. Destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with mana value less than or equal to the amount of energy paid this way. So, by itself, cast it for white, destroy Urza Saga, and all the Urza Saga tokens, just by itself, without putting anything into it at all. That's pretty powerful. So as a sideboard card, this could just be a sideboard card in a random white deck with no energy anywhere. If you are playing energy, though, this card's pretty sick. You know, if I already have like 4 or 5 energy, I just cast this for for 3 mana and wrath the board. It's insane. Killing artifacts and enchantments is also cool. This card's got very flexible, kind of like modern day Pernicious Deed vibes, which is obviously a very powerful card. And this card's just sweet. This card's very, very good. Sleeper card, obviously predicated on the fact that energy needs to be actually good for this card to see play. But this card's really, really powerful and being overlooked right now. And a sleeper card for white is Wrath of the Skies. Also great and limited, obviously, where it's a super controllable Wrath, which is great. And yeah, card's sick. Wrath of Disguise, sleeper card for white. So to recap, Felia gets best in show here, the good doggo. We get Wrath of Disguise as our sleeper card in white. Ormschant is our trap card. I hate seeing the old classics done dirty like this. And then Area Auxiliary is our Bombin Common in white. We got a whole set review to do, folks. We got blue and all the other colors coming up on stream. But you two folks, love you. Like, comment, subscribe, support the content, and I'll see you in the next episode. Let's go.